Can you beat Borderlands 2 while only using Torgue items, episode number 5. And starting off from last time, as we have just beaten the warrior, killed Jack, and beaten the entire base game. And there's only one thing left to do, and that is of course go to the Torgue DLC. And all I have to do to start that is go to the
Badass Greater Badassitude!
And then we begin. And the first thing that I'm told as I get here is that I'm now in a competition to figure out who is the biggest badass of them all. So at the moment I am placed at 50th. And then Mr. Torgue tells me if I want to get my ranks up, then I have to go around and kill a bunch of randoms. And after killing a bunch of Pete's Burners and Mama's boys, then for some reason Torgue decides to make me fight his own men. But I don't really care, I'll do whatever Mr. Torgue tells me to do. Then we meet the number one biggest badass, and it actually turns out that he is a really nice guy. His name is Piston, and he is definitely not a cheater. Then Piston tells me that he wants to be my sponsor and will take me under his wing, and he will also help me raise my badass rank. Now Mr. Torgue really does seem to think that he's going to betray the fuck out of me, but I trust him. He seems like a very nice and trustworthy man. So I decide to fight off 4 waves of people so we can both share the reward. The chest that we get is empty, and it turns out that he has actually betrayed the fuck out of me and he's stolen all of my good loot that I was supposed to get from the chest after killing all those guys. But not only that, he decides to gas me like I'm a Jewish person in Germany 80 years ago. Like, come on Piston, it's too soon, man. And as I thought I died from the gassing, I realized that I luckily survived, and now I really want to get revenge on this guy. But because I can't get revenge until I reach the number 2 badass, I must now take out the number 4 badass, and that will be Pyro Pete, the not so invincible. And after killing a bunch of people in his bar, I finally make it to the point where I can fight Pyro Pete. And the little rat has explosive resistance, so this was going to be harder than I thought it was going to be, but he really didn't do that much damage either. So after like 2 minutes of just constantly running backwards and shooting him with my shotgun, I saw that a bunch of baby spider ants were running around, and I knew that I couldn't lose. And that was that. I finally killed Pyro Pete, but it wasn't the invincible one, so it wasn't that hard. Then after the fight, I head straight to the cells and I rescue the sponsor, who of course was Moxie. Oh wow, look, it's Moxie's bouncing pair. But anyway, we finally have our sponsor. Then I head to the Badass Crater Bar, which of course is where Moxie will be. But before continuing with any missions, I decide to spend some of my Torgue tokens. And now I can definitely hear some of you saying, "Oh, quickly go use them at the Torgue vendor." Nah, that's boring. Let's see what we get from these. Also, for all the people who have been asking why I don't use a bunch of the really good looking blue Torgue weapons, and that's really just because I only farm things that are legendaries. I'm not going to go sit there at a vendor farming for hours just to look for one blue Torgue shotgun or something like that. It's just not very fun, is it? And I understand the reason, because I did struggle very hard with my legendary Torgue items, but after I check every single boss I kill, I check all of their loot to see if they got any Torgue things. I pick every Torgue thing up. The only good thing I ever found was that green 3-barrel shotgun. But anyway, on the final 2 spins, I get absolute shit, and it actually ends up killing me. Well, that was a giant kick in the balls, but anyway, I have just defeated Pyro Pete, and now I am the number 4 ranked badass. But I still really need to increase that to the number 2 ranked badass, so I decide to head to a trainer. And who else but the insane 13-year-old girl who is somehow a master of explosives. And who else would that be apart from Tiny Tina herself? And her first mission for me is to go and collect some cookies because, well, she's Tiny Tina, and she is not okay in the brain. And after stealing 3 lots of cookies from the Torgue arena, Tina realizes something, and it is very, very bad. These cookies that look like they were supposed to have chocolate chip turned out to be fucking raisins! You don't put raisins in fucking cookies. So I must do what anyone would do in my situation, and that would be destroying every single one of those cookie vendors and making sure no one ever touches those disgusting raisin cookies. It's happened to me in real life before, and I can safely say that it was the worst moment of my entire life. And to calm down after all that cookie stuff, I decided to go for a couple of races in my car. And the first one was quite easy, seeing as it gave me an entire 2 minutes and 30 seconds to complete 2 laps. Then the second one only gave me 2 minutes to complete 2 laps, but I did do it, and with 13 seconds left to spare. Then I start level 3 and it says it's for a level 50 and difficulty impossible, so that's nice to know. And it gives me 1 minute and 45 seconds to do both laps, and I was only 2 seconds off of that last time and I had a pretty big crash as well, so I think I've got this. I ended up missing a checkpoint on this one, but I seemed very close to getting it. Then I don't know how this happened, but I got stuck like this for a couple of seconds and that ruined that race. Then I tried again for a third and final time, getting way too close, but I didn't get too happy about it. Nah, fuck that then, fuck that! Alright, calm down you idiot. Let's just go and fight Motor Mama instead, and hopefully she doesn't take too long to kill. So I fully stock up on ammo, and it's time to fight Motor Mama. And I decide to just start firing with my crappy Blaster just to see how much damage it can do, and it absolutely melts her. Well, that's amazing for the Blaster at least. Then I got bored of using the Blaster and I just whipped out the Nukem. And it does huge damage. And it just takes me 3 shots of the Nukem after she was on above half health to finally kill the giant son of a bitch. And that pushes me straight to the number 3 badass on the planet. But instead of continuing with the main missions, I decide to help Tiny Tina by walking her dog. And it's not really as much walking as it is being chased by her flaming dog of death. And then the mission is finally done and the dog goes back in its kennel. Or so I thought. But then it just starts kinda doing this. I'm not sure if that's a glitch or something that Tina has taught the dog to do, because it kinda does sound like something she would do. But well, I end up turning in the quest and getting myself the Boom Puppy. And this is a Torgue assault rifle that could possibly save my chances of beating this damn DLC. But sadly it turns out that this gun is kind of a pile of garbage. But who cares about that, because I just got myself a key to the forge. And that means I can finally go up against the number 2 badass. And while in the forge I do 2 very annoying missions. And one of them was because I had to kill a bunch of buzzards. And well, buzzards are basically the nemesis of Torgue weapons. And now that I'm seeing that the number 2 badass's name is Flyboy, I'm getting quite concerned. Then I reach Flyboy's lair and meet Flyboy himself, but luckily he gets quickly decimated before I have to fight him. But sadly now I have to fight Piston's blimp. And it turned out to be quite easy, not damage wise because it took forever, but just because if I sat under the top platform then I was basically untouchable by his missiles and the other buzzards. But then when I went to the top to finally finish him off, I grabbed out the Nukem and thought it would work, but sadly it did fuck all damage and I died. Wow! Yeah, that sucked, but 15 minutes after first meeting Piston's blimp, I finally kill it, and it's time to go and fight the final boss of this DLC. Also, does Piston's blimp actually drop anything, or is it just because he was so far away that I couldn't see anything? But anyway, it doesn't matter about that right now because it's time to go and fight the Badassosaurus. And he kills me once even after I got him down to below half health, but then after respawning I realized that this door stays open and I can kind of use it as basically a cheat. And I'm not 100% sure if this has always been a thing, or if it's just a glitch or something, but I decided to capitalize on it anyway. So all I did was basically just spam the Nukem, go back to the store which is right behind me, and then buy more ammo for the Nukem and keep using it. But because I wanted to make the Boom Puppy feel useful, I decided to use it to kill the Badassosaurus after nearly 10 minutes of fighting this thing. But that's not everything, because the Badassosaurus decides to vomit out Piston, and now I have to go and defeat this fraud. And it turns out that Piston is very susceptible to nuclear damage, because just 2 shots of it nearly took out all of his shields, and it only took 5 more shots with it just to finish him off. And that is the final boss of the Torgue DLC, and I have completed it while only using Torgue items. And as we see the credits, it is just less than 12 hours and 15 minutes to beat the game and this DLC as well, so I would call that a massive win. And because this challenge is done for now until I go for True Vault Hunter mode, it's time to finally move on to a Borderlands 1 challenge, and that will be next. But don't worry about Borderlands 2 because a new one will be coming very soon as well. I won't tell you what it's going to be because that will be a surprise. But if you have any tips for this game or any of the other Borderlands games, please let me know in the comments. And if you got any more challenge ideas, that would also be greatly appreciated. And thank you for watching.